Margaret Cyphers with Google. Margaret is a design executive with experience in high-tech product design, e-commerce, digital media, brand development, and marketing. Holding key roles in growing national and global brands, Margaret's career includes user experience and design leadership at Google, tech startups, and successfully managing teams through acquisitions and large-scale change at companies including Google, Dow Brands, Sprint, 3M, and Frigidaire. Margaret's dynamic leadership style, innovative concept development, and vision setting deliver powerful, effective product solutions. Please give it up for Margaret.
I want you to think of a time when you made a decision because of a feeling that you had in your gut. You just knew the right answer. You know that feeling, we've all had it. It's intuition. My mom taught me about intuition, something that I've carried into my role as design director at Google. So back to my mom. My mom raised 3 daughters. She was a teacher and a tireless attendee of all of our swimming meets and mediocre piano recitals and violin concerts, band concerts, you name it. And she's taught me so many things. She's taught me how to be a good mom, a good friend, a good neighbor. And she's also taught me how to be a pretty good cook. And she also taught me how to make my Grandma Edna's dill pickles. So one of the things, though, that's impacted me most in my career was seeing how hard she worked and how in tune she was with everything and everyone around her. Some of my strongest moments around intuition, in my personal life at least, come from my mom. Somehow, my mom knew everything. I took the car out without asking. My mom knew. Missed my curfew. She definitely knew. Trouble with my friends. My mom knew even before I would say anything. So now as a mom myself, I feel this with my own boys, and intuition can be really valuable. Like my mom, many business leaders operate with intuition as well. Steve Jobs, Oprah, Richard Branson, and I guarantee you all have tapped into intuition. It might be at work, it might be in your personal life, or it could be in both. For example, I'm sure you've had experiences where you had a sense that something was wrong with a friend or a colleague, or you knew the answer to a complex problem, but you really don't know how you got the answer. Maybe partway down a path on a project, you just kind of knew something wasn't right. That's intuition. And I'm here to talk to you today because I see this power untapped and ignored sometimes. The global pandemic, it's been yet another reminder that we need to deliver quickly and be able to adapt our products for today's work, school, and personal needs, and we can't always research everything. We do have to use our intuition. I love this quote by Einstein. It summarizes that it's a gift. Intuition is a gift that we are all given, and we have it inside of us, and he's reminding us to use it. And if you take away one thing today, it's that intuition is the source of innovation, and you can use it to create transformational products for your users. My goal today is to reveal the power of design intuition, how to balance it with data, and for you to learn how to harness it for yourself. So before I dig in, let me tell you what I mean exactly by design intuition. First off, it's with a little d. I don't believe it's reserved for any one discipline. But it's not a guess. You have it inside of you because of the experiences that you've had. You've built it over time because you've tried. If you're like me, you've tried things and you've failed. And you've learned from testing things over the years. It might feel like a subtle guide, or it can also be a sharp kind of, just a sharp feeling or a moment that you have. But it can be fleeting and you don't want to miss it, so you have to pay attention. I'm here today to talk to you about it, again, because I just feel like I see people failing to trust their gut. If you grab it, you have the opportunity to be truly transformational. There's many examples of this transformational power of design intuition at lots of companies, and definitely at Google. Back in 2016, when I was running Google Drive UX team, G Suite had just been announced as a collection of products. And we were really pivoting from mostly consumer into an enterprise strategy. Now, my job was drive, but I couldn't shake the feeling that really, when I looked at the products across the suite, they didn't feel like a suite, they didn't look like a suite, and they definitely weren't acting like a suite yet. So even though it wasn't our job per se, I pulled together designers from across the suite and we started imagining what our products could be like if we just, had a cohesive set, if they looked the same, if they felt like they belonged. And we started envisioning the future together. Gained support from leadership and our effort was formalized. And really this transformation into a more cohesive suite started to roll. We started to get great traction. We listened to our intuition is why we leaned into this product or this project. We harnessed it and it paid off. 2020, now we have 25 products that really are starting to feel like they have been transformed. And it all was based on that original gut feeling. There are 3 values of design intuition: macro evolution, industry changing, large scale customer impact, and increased velocity as well. Google is obviously not the only company to lead with intuition. Steve Jobs led Apple with intuition as a key value in their company, and he fostered it to achieve macro evolution. Let's go back to 2006. Apple was about to launch the iPhone. Nobody thought that Apple had a chance. Nokia was one of the cream of the crop in mobile. They had the whole market. And it didn't look like they were at risk of losing any of that market share either. But 2007 to 2012, Nokia's market share went from $110 billion to about $15 billion. So iPhone lacked a ton of features. They didn't have all of the features of the Nokia phones. So how did they end up winning? Design intuition. Jobs had a leap of faith and took that leap of faith that users would value beauty and ease of use as much as the functionality that Nokia brought to the table. So they listened to their gut, invested hard in innovation, and they trusted this intuition. And within 5 years, Apple came to dominate smartphones. Intuition can also lead to large-scale customer impact. Collaborative editing in docs is an example at Google. Visual voicemail, gestural interfaces on Pixel 4, that was a big bet. And Smart Compose in Gmail, and that leverages machine learning to suggest communication for you. That was really an aha moment that started around the perception that email usage was on the decline. And it wasn't true for enterprise, but it still left us asking the question, that team leaning in on how can we make it more helpful and faster for people? Well, what if we did it for you? That was a moment. And it had great results. 85% of people found it useful. But the results, really the impact that they didn't even anticipate was large-scale customer impact and providing a way for autistic people to be able to learn how to communicate better, suggesting responses that may come more naturally to neurotypical people. This is the type of impact that we didn't even expect. We didn't think about this. So that was an amazing result of this, what started as intuition of how could we do this faster and better. Lastly, increased velocity. Testing and research, they're invaluable, but we can spend too much time there if we're not careful. So don't overthink. It can limit your ability to learn from your experiences. You should be leveraging past mistakes. And another thing that will speed that up is just thinking about the ability to launch and learn and keep iterating. So don't overthink. Use best practices versus validating things that you already know are true. We don't need to overtest things. When we do, it slows down innovation. Partner with your researcher or research team to figure out, what is it that you should be defining? What type of foundational research can you do around a particular industry or user types? The foundational research, this also strengthens those intuition muscles, and then you can trust your gut later. Use your intuition with data and research. If we do, we might just increase the velocity. So one thing, perception is that there's an inherent conflict sometimes between this intuition or trusting your gut and data. And I would say that data, again, strengthens the intuition muscles. There's this sweet spot where you can balance intuition with data. Intuition without any data, that's not good. Data without considering emotion can also create products that are void of spirit, thinking back to the Nokia example. So spark with intuition, but refine with data. Sometimes the left side of our brain, it takes over and it can negate the right side of our brain. When we listen to both sides, it can be super powerful. So let me give you an example of what can happen when you listen to both sides. At Google, one example that I'll share with you here, where we actually did balance intuition with data. We kicked off an imagery project for G Suite with my team. We were looking at images through the product UI, and we were going to redo those around onboarding screens or empty states. And we engaged traditional illustrators, and we were plugging along. The work is beautiful. Illustrator's amazing talent. But remember when I said that intuition could be a nagging feeling or something that hits you over the head? Well, I had this nagging feeling that we needed to push further. The industry was flooded with just this similar design or illustration style. So I had the team, they were iterating on different colors, and they were looking at line weights, maybe thick or thin, and how do we scale things differently to create a little bit of difference between ours and the next. But one day when I went into, or the next day I think it was, I went into the conference room after just kind of feeling again like something wasn't right. And I saw this image, one that is a handful of backgrounds created for Google Meet. And it's screens that we have in our conference rooms. And at the time it's a project actually called the Canvas Project. You can look it up. And when I walked into this room and saw this beautiful, unique picture, it hit me because we needed to create something for this illustration or imagery revamp that was just as unique. And it needed to be googly and hard to replicate, and we needed to do it across all of our products. So the style is called photo illustration. It's photography that really blurs the line between illustration and photography, and it's done through some stylistic lighting, and we use props. And it's also very difficult, again, to replicate. Our work on the Canvas project for Google Meet was the first time that we employed the photo illustration technique. And now we're starting to push it into our UI, and I'm pushing on the team to do this at scale. So over the last year, the team has been working on a new direction for imagery across the G Suite. With billions of our products, we also have to be calculated. So this is where we started to balance this aha moment with data. And we used the spark and started to refine it with the research. The amazingly talented researchers on our team came up with something called the brand perception kit. Now this allows us to really measure desirability and preference for users with imagery, so things that sometimes can be a little bit subjective. But we tested and we refined the concepts that we had. We explored user sentiment around things like animation versus still, or using full color versus more tonal, illustration like the original illustration versus the photography that we had, just to make sure that we were hitting the mark. So we landed on, based on this research, we found that the Google iconic colors really resonated and did have a closer tie to the brand. And we found out that selective motion was okay. And photo illustration was highly preferred, and it was seen as more innovative than our existing style. So I just showed you a few examples of design intuition at work. But sometimes it seems like we listen to our gut more in our personal life. Like my mom, I guess, more than work. So I think what we need is to be really intentional here. And there are 3 things that I think can ensure this design intuition and innovation at work. First is your people. We need to be, and whether you're doing the hiring or referring people, we need to make sure that our people are reflecting our mission, that we're hiring the right people, that we're hiring people who are thinkers and innovators, and that we're nurturing that culture also within our teams and encouraging people to think about a lot of different ideas and approach a problem in a lot of different ways. So variety of not just ages, sexes, races, but make sure again you have a very diverse team. And then process. Spray widely, whether it's you as the designer or you're encouraging your team, we should be thinking about hundreds of ideas, lots of sketches, and really thinking more broadly, and just keep pushing that. Now, the other thing I would add about process is don't forget to leave time to be quiet and just to think. Some of our best ideas come when you have some silence around you. If you never have that time to think, I feel like you can miss some moments. So don't forget also to use launches as a means to be able to test and to learn and to go back and iterate. And then lastly, product. Be intentional with your product, creating desirability, not just functionality. Bottom line, think like a change maker. Be a change maker. So to wrap it up, intuition is the source of innovation, and it can deliver macro evolution. It can deliver industry-changing disruption, and it can increase your velocity. So don't forget to be intentional. You all have the gift of intuition. Make my mom proud and use it. Thank you. Have a great day.